everyone, my name is Jill with Simply Made Unique by Jill, and I'm one of your US brand ambassadors here at Aussie Decor Transfers. Today, we're talking about, you guessed it, transfers. I'm gonna go through a short hands-on video of me putting a transfer on a project. I'm gonna go step by step and telling you all about what you need to do once you receive this tube in the mail. At the end of the video, I hope you have the confidence to just jump right in and start your first project. So we're gonna get going. I'm gonna jump right on over to the video and I'll see you at the end. Here we go. Here's a transfer tube. Everything you need is included in here, and this protects your transfers. You can take the sheets out and lay them flat before you use them, just to get the bend out of them and let them decompress. You're also going to get a yellow transfer tool. This is for burnishing the transfer and getting air bubbles out when you first begin. You'll also get a wooden burnishing tool that you might find easier to use. It's a personal preference. Put your transfers back in this tube, then you always know what's in there, what you have, and it keeps your transfer protected by keeping the paper on the back of it by being rolled up and placed back in the tube. Keep this in a cool, dry area for easy storage. As you can see, the Wildflower comes in lots of individual sheets. Some of the transfers are larger, about the size of this table, and they'll have like one image of a flamingo or a flower or birds or something, and there'll be less sheets but bigger images. Wildflowers is great because it's got lots of little images, like these leaves. These leaves can easily be cut apart and layered underneath a bigger flower. Now, when you're looking at transfer and trying to figure out where they're going to go, obviously I would layer these flowers underneath this one. To get an idea, I could peel off the paper off of the film and just pretend I'm laying it on top to get an idea of what it looks like. I'll pick my paper back up, the same side that I took it off of, and lay the transfer back down to protect it and put it aside until I'm actually ready to lay it. But first, we're going to work with these leaves. These leaves here, I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and cut them apart. Since I'm layering, I want these to be in the background, so it's just that easy. Cut them apart. You can put these back in the tube to be protected and use them another time. I'm going to put them aside because I'm probably going to use them later. Now, you peel your film without touching the transfer away from your paper, and you figure out where you want to lay it. Lay it down gently. At this point, you can still move it a bit. But if you're happy where it is, take your yellow tool, run the yellow tool over it, and pushing out any air bubbles. You can also use the yellow tool to start rubbing it down. I prefer the stick, but that's just me. You can use either, whatever works for you. Pick up the stick and starting at one end, start to gently rub the transfer. You're going to give it quite a bit of pressure, but you're not going to dig into the wood. You'll start to see it release by turning a more translucent color, like right here. As you go along, you'll see it starting to lift, and you'll be able to know where it's still attached. I like to take my film and start lifting it just gently to see where I'm at. See how I'm not attached here and I'm actually picking it away from the table? You don't want to do that, so if you get resistance, put it back down and work that area again, making sure that you cover that whole area and you don't rip your transfer off without being done there. We're going to speed this up a little bit and go along all the edges and make sure that everything is stuck down. You want to make sure that it's nice and warm in your room and not really cold. If it's cold, you might get some resistance from this and you might have to warm your transfer up a tiny bit. Now you can see I'm all done. I'm going to gently lift that film. I'm not getting any resistance, so I know I'm pretty good. I peel it all the way up and ta-da, we're done. You can take this film, turn it over, put it down, and this is what we call burnishing the transfer. You want to rub your tool back over it. This really sets it onto your piece to make sure it's not going anywhere and it's stuck on for good. You just want to gently rub over it and then you can throw that film away. You don't need it anymore. Next, we're going to talk about this missing piece on this transfer. I accidentally was trying to layer this transfer, get an idea where it's going, and I dropped it and it stuck to the other transfer. So now I am just missing a whole chunk of the transfer, but I'm going to use it anyway and I'm going to show you how to fix it. So I'm going to take this away here. I'm going to put this one down exactly where I want to put it, and we'll deal with that later. While I'm laying this piece, let's talk about weather and its effect on the transfers. As I said a couple seconds ago, if your room is very cold, you might need to warm the transfer up. This might just be as easy as rubbing your warm hands over it on the film a few times to get it to release. Sometimes weather can be a factor, and I want to tell you about that. Because if you're having a hard time, if it's raining or humid or like cold, like I said, you might have a little bit harder time getting it to release. But don't worry, this is not a defect in the transfer. It's just the transfer needs a little bit more time, a little bit more patience, and you might just have to rub it a little bit more. Don't panic. If you need to or you're getting frustrated, walk away and do it the next day. I promise it's not a defect and it will work out. Now that we're done here, we're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about this little missing piece in here, and you have two options. Your first option is that you take a little paintbrush and some artist paint and you paint in your little flower. I promise nobody's going to know, and this is what I'm going to show you here. I just took a little bit of white on a brush and I'm going to start to mimic the flower. I can add details later when it dries to make it look a little more like the piece, but I'm probably the only one that knows it's there. I'm also going to take a little bit of yellow and dab it in the middle, and later I'll make the flower look a little more flower when the paint is dry. Now here's option number 2. Remember I said you have extra leaves and flowers and stuff that came with this transfer? You can take one of your pieces of the leaves that matches this flower and cut a small piece out. So we're going to take one of these leaves here and we're just going to snip off one end and just take that leaf and match it into its space. That's what's perfect about these transfers having so many pieces. You really could go back and add layer things if you need to. So we're just cutting out that one little leaf. Say I didn't paint that flower in there, I could just stick a leaf across here, and again, nobody would ever know that there was a flower missing. So if you don't want to paint, then take a piece of a transfer, just stick it in there. I promise no one will ever know. Here we're going to talk about our cut pieces. I didn't cut right along the leaves. I gave myself some room, so when I use my burnishing tool on that film, I'm not going directly onto my wood and risk actually chipping my wood with the tool. So I'm going to give myself some extra space, and this time I'm going to tape it down to secure it to make sure it doesn't move or crack. This is important if you're not used to doing transfers or doing a vertical surface. You can see I stayed away from the other transfer with the tape because I don't want to accidentally lift that transfer back up with my tape. I'm going to burnish this down and I'm going to move you guys in a little bit closer so you can see that this actually starts to take on a different color as I'm burnishing the transfer. That means it's lifting. Once I feel like a spot has lifted, that's when I'll stick my finger underneath the film and start lifting it just a tiny bit to make sure that it's actually down. If I get any resistance at all, again, I'm going to use my tool and keep rubbing that area until that film comes off nice and easy and it doesn't sound like it's sticking. And now that I got my background leaves down, I can put my other flowers down just to see where they're going to go. But you can see I did a layered look. So next will go these flowers and this will go on top. Once it's done, you'll see my exact look, and wait till the end of the video to see that. Here I'm going to show you all the different pieces I've kept from different transfers. So I was talking about the leaves, so I cut one bigger one off. Keep that piece. I've kept these from all different transfers. Throw them in a pile, in a folder, in a box, in something. You never know when you're going to need a little piece of something to fill in. Maybe you made a mistake, maybe you need a flower, maybe you just need a little area to fill in. Again, like here when I was missing the flower, I could have went into my box and found an exact flower that I needed, even if it wasn't from the same transfer. Instead of painting this, I could have just added something in there to make it look complete. Hey guys, welcome back. Here's a few of my top takeaways from this video. Keep your transfers in their tube. This way you always know what they are and where they are. Plus this protects them in a cool, dry area from the backing coming off the film, and it protects the image. When you're doing your transfer, make sure you take your time. You could check to see if it's coming off or not, but don't rush it. It is a process and it does take a little bit of time, but it's so worth it in the end. Don't rush it and risk damaging your transfer. Also, when you're laying your transfer, you might want to keep a piece of tape on it, especially when you first start or you're doing a vertical surface. This keeps your transfer secure and in the place that it's supposed to be. This will minimize cracking or anything else that could happen from the transfer slipping. We went through a few trouble spots on here and I showed you how to remedy them with a little bit of paint and that kind of thing. Don't panic, there's always a fix. Make sure that you put your transfers down on a sealed surface, not a porous surface like a chalk mineral paint. You want to have a sealer down first, and when you're done with your transfer, to protect it, you're also going to use a water-based sealer on top of it. If weather is a factor and you're having a problem getting your transfer to release, just keep in mind that rain, humidity, even really cold temps can affect your transfer a tiny bit. Really cool temps, you're just going to warm it up with your hands a little bit to get it easier to release. If it's a really humid day and it's sticking and it doesn't want to come off, just keep working at it or wait until the next day when maybe you have a little bit better weather. But don't panic, it's all going to work out in the end. So I'm hoping that you guys are feeling super confident about your first Aussie Decor transfer, or if you've done transfers before and this is the first time you got one from Aussie Decor, I hope you're super confident as well in opening up that tube and start creating. It's really a lot of fun and opens up so much more in the world of furniture and crafts. Until next time, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, the little bell, and that way you'll be notified when we have new videos coming out, how-tos, new products, and everything else we have to offer. You can always contact us at AussieDecor.com, on our Facebook page, here through YouTube, or any one of our brand ambassadors. We'll be happy to answer questions for you if they arise. So don't be shy. Make sure that you reach out if you have a question. Until next time, guys, happy creating.